Welcome to a new edition of Harness Central. I'm Harold Howe, and I'm here with Mickey Burke in the second part of our series. We're at Winter Miles Training Center in Astor, Florida, and we're going to talk trotters today. And one that really catches my eye here, Mickey, Market Rally. Now, this is a newcomer to the barn. She was queen of the New York Sire Stakes last year. She only got a record of 59-1, but she made $280,000, and that was enough to make you guys buy her. How'd that come about?
Well, that came about without me ever knowing about it happening until I did. My son Ronnie and Mark Weaver now are to the place where they do most of the buying. I mean, Ronnie and I go to the auctions. We pick out all the yearlings together and that. But the racehorses, pretty well, they tell me what they've done after they've done it. And I was probably more surprised than you when they told me what we paid for her and what she had, how short her mark was by comparison.
But she
obviously she made the money. So, there's one thing about a trotter. If they'll stay flat, they'll make money.
And to her credit, she did finish third in the Breeders' Crown, which a lot of people might not have noticed. She trotted her own mile in 55, so just being on the New York Sire or New York tracks maybe camouflaged her a little bit. But you've had her a little bit now. What do you think of her?
Well, I haven't sat behind her but once. I jogged her one day, and there's nothing not to like about her. And I'll tell you, I'm going on the fact that my son has made very few mistakes, and so he liked her, and we paid the money.
I mean, hindsight's a great thing, but can you look at her today, forget about who she is, just look at her and think, well, that's just a $7,500 yearling, which what she was at the Morrisville yearling sale.
Well, this happens so often. I mean, where you said when Dave Mineri has one up in Canada that I think he paid $3,000 for, and one of the better horses in the country. So, we're one night at Harrisburg, we're loading a whole bunch, several trainers of us, on a tractor trailer and sending them all out of there, and we're saying, well, this one costs $42,000, this one costs $18,000, this one costs $70,000, and Steve. Oh my God, Steve from down in Delaware looked at me and he says, Mick, when they go on that truck, they don't know what they cost.
That's right. Okay, let's talk about another one that you did have some experience with last year, Rosewarne Parker. This is a jailhouse Jessie, 3-year-old, utterly dominated things in Indiana. Only 2 losses and 9 wins, $231,000. And your thoughts on that Indiana bred?
Well, this is a special horse to me because I own him in partnership with a guy that he and I have been like brothers since we were 6 years old. We showed jumping horses together, Grand Prix jumping horses, and we both got old, and now he owns a bunch of horses with me, and this is one of them, and so it thrills me to death that Buddy's gotten that kind of a horse. But, this was a horse that when we broke him was kind of a rattlebrain and a little bit erratic. And then we finally couldn't get him to stay flat, put the trot knobbles on him, and it was go downtown from there on.
Well, he was certainly focused at the end. He won his last 5 starts in a row.
Yeah, and he'd have won that other Breeders' Crown final out there. And I mean, if Ricky McCumber's hearing it, I'll say it right to his face, and he'll agree with me. He doesn't have any clue in the world why he pulled the plugs on that horse, and when he did, he made a break because the horse was going to win without ever pulling the flinch. But that was his only one that we regretted that he didn't win.
And how do you like him to come back as a 3-year-old?
Well, he's even bigger and stronger now, and I don't think there's much question that he'll be a dominant horse, especially in Indiana. But I'm sure that Ronnie and I are going to crank him up a little bit in the stakes too and see where else we can go with him.
All right, let's talk another one which maybe has a little more profile. Southwind Spirit made $370,000, 2-year record of 54-1. Muscle Hill Colt, that was a $105,000 yearling for Southwind Farm through the Hunterton consignment. When you look back on last year with him, what was your appraisal of things?
Well, I'll tell you, if I've ever had a Hambletonian eligible horse, this is it. And if I don't get this one, I don't know if I'll live long enough to have one like him. I mean, he's got all the tools to be a absolutely top colt, and I'll be shocked to death if he isn't.
Soho and Spirit, he was always in the hunt, it seemed, and he didn't win too many. Was he just needing a little more maturity in your mind?
Yeah, he's a big horse. I mean, very big horse. And, I think horse really don't get their full strength and growth until they're 5 years old. And I just think he was a big gangly colt that's going to blow people's minds how good he's going to be. Either that or he's going to be a complete dud, one of the two.
Well, obviously you thought enough of him because you went back into the family last fall and you bought Mission Brief, a filly, Muscle Hill, out of South Rin Serena, who's a sister to Spirit, and stepped up for $1.50 on her. What's your thoughts on her at the end of January?
Well, we've just turned them and started to go with them, and I think all the trotters were right around 250 with them, and she's right with the best that we have. But they're, if you don't like them now, you're in big trouble.
Final word on that for sure. Mickey, thanks very much, and good luck here with things. And tune in for the next episode where we'll look at some of the 2-year-olds that the Burke stable has. Thanks again, Mickey.
Thank you.
Harold Howe giving you the Harness Racing Edge.